Hello students, today we are going to see this new chapter, chapter 12, SQL. Okay, SQL structured query language. So in this chapter we are going to learn about uh, the processing skills, okay, of SQL, components of SQL, to create a table by specifying the fields and records, apply various manipulation like inserting, updating and deleting records in a table. To learn about various constraints and to apply it on table, to generate queries in the table by applying various classes, okay, to modify the structure of an existing table, the commands to delete records, tables and revoke the commands. Okay, so these are all the concepts that we are going to see in this chapter. uh, you can understand just by reading it. Okay, SQL is a query language that is used to access data in a database. Okay, if you give any SQL command to the RDBMS software, then it will provide you the data. Okay, so it is a standardized command format. Okay, this SQL can be used in any database. Okay, the same SQL code will work in MySQL. The same SQL code will work in uh, uh, SQL Server. So whatever the RDBMS software you use, the structured query language is the same for every uh, software. Okay, so you can understand very easily. So I'll just read out. Okay, so introduction to SQL. So the structured query language is a standard programming language to access and manipulate database. SQL allows the user to access, uh, retrieve, alter and transfer information among database. It is a language designed to manage and access data in a relational database management system, that is RDBMS. Uh, there are many versions of SQL. The original version was developed in IBM Research Center and originally called as Sql in the year 1970s. Later, the language was changed to SQL in 1986. ANSI, okay, American National Standard Institution published SQL standard that was updated again in 1992. The latest SQL was released in 2008 and named as SQL 2008. Note, okay, latest SQL standards as of now is SQL 2008, released in 2008. Roles of SQL in DBMS. RDBMS stands for Relational Database Management System. Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL Server, IBM DB2 and Microsoft Access are the RDBMS packages. SQL is a language used to access data in such databases. In general, database is a collection of tables that stores a set of data that can be queried for use in another application. A database management system supports the development, administration, and use of database platform. RDBMS is a type of DBMS with a row-based table structure that contains related data elements such and includes functions related to create, read, update, and delete operation, collectively known as CRUD. CRUD. So C for create, R for read, and U for update, and D for delete. The database in RDBMS is stored in database objects called tables. A table is a collection of related data entries. Okay, related data entries, and it consists of rows and columns. A field is a column in a table that is designed to maintain specific related information about each records in the table. It is vertical entity that contains all the information associated with a specific field in a table. The field is a student table, maybe of the type admission number, a student name, student age, student class, and place, etc. A record is a row which is a collection of related fields and columns that exist in the table. A record is a horizontal entity in a table which represents the details of a particular student in a student table. Next topic, processing skills of SQL. The various processing skills of SQLs are DDL. DDL means data definition language. The SQL DDL provides commands for defining related schemas, okay, which is structure. Deleting relations, creating indexes, and modifying related schemas, relational schemas. Next is DML, data manipulation language. The data manipulation language includes commands to insert, delete, and modify tuples in a database. Here tuples is a single row. Okay, single row in a database is known as tuple. Embedded data manipulation language. The embedded form of SQL is used in high-level programming language. View definition. The SQL also includes commands for defining views of tables, authorizations. The SQL includes commands for access rights to relation and view of table. Integrity. Okay, the SQL provides forms for integrity checking using conditions. So you can create forms. Okay, by using forms you can uh, include data in a database very easily. Okay, if you want to make a query, then you will be typing the query and the data, but if you are creating a form for a database, then it will be very easy to insert data into the database. So transaction control, the SQL includes commands for the file transaction and control over the transaction process. Next is creating a database. So you'll be using this query in the MySQL software to create the database. To create a database, type the following commands in the prompt. Create database name. For example, to create a database to store the table, then you will be creating this by using create space database, then the database name is stud student. Okay, To work with the database, type the following command. Okay, you have now just created the table, but if you want to if you want to do any actions, or if you want to create a table, or if you want to do any editing work, then you have to use this command. Use database name. Okay, so use stud. Okay, so when you use this command, then you can access this database stud. Then you can add tables or update tables. Any work can be done after this. So next is components of SQL. So the first thing is DML, data manipulation language. Next is DDL, data definition language. Next is DCL, data control language. And TCL, transaction control language. And DQL, data query language. So first one, data definition language. The data definition language consists of a SQL statement used to define the database structure or schema. It simply deals with the description of the database schema, and it is used to create and modify the structure of database objects in a database. The DLL provides a set of definition to specify the storage, structure, and access information or access method by the database system. DDL performs the following information. It should identify the type of data divided, such as data items, segments, records, and database files. It gives a unique name to each data item type, record type, file type, and database. You should specify the proper data type. It should define the size of the data item. It may define the range of value that a data item may use. It may specify privacy log for preventing unauthorized data entries. So SQL command which comes under data definition languages are creator, create, alter, drop, and truncate. Okay, so create means to create a table in a database. Alter means alter the structure of the database. Drop means delete table from the database. Truncate means remove all the records from the table. Also release the space occupied by this records. Okay, so there is a difference between drop and alter. Drop means the entire table will be dropped, and the data which is stored in the table also will be deleted. But this truncate means only the data that is holded by the table will be deleted. The table will be there, and the structure of the table will be there. Okay, so that is the difference between delete and truncate. Next is data manipulation language. The data manipulation language is a computer programming language used for adding, removing, and modifying data in a database. In SQL, the data manipulation language comprises the SQL data change statement, which modifies store data but not the schema, okay, of the database table. So in this data manipulation language DML, you cannot able to change the structure of the table. You can only edit the data which is stored in the table. So after the database schema has been specified and the database has been created, the data can be manipulated using a set of procedure which are expressed by DML. By data manipulation, we mean inserting a new row or new information into the database, retrieving of information stored in a database, deleting of information from the database, modification of data stored in the database. Next is the DML is a basically of two types. One is procedural DML and non-procedural DML. So procedural DML requires a user to specify what data is needed and how to get it. And non-procedural DML requires a user to specify that data is needed without specifying how to get it. So this is the difference between procedural DML and non-procedural DML. So they'll be using a form. Okay, in procedural DML, they'll be using a form to create, which is created by a user, and it will be inserting data into the table. But non-procedural DML, they'll be using a commands by the user to enter data into the table. SQL commands which comes under data manipulation languages are insert, update and delete. Insert data into the table. Update means updates the existing data within the table. Delete all the records from the table but not the space occupied by them. Okay, so here is the difference between drop, truncate and delete. Okay, so drop means the entire table will be deleted and the content of the table will also be deleted. Truncate means the structure of the table will be there but only the data will be deleted and the space that is held by the data will be released. But here in the delete command, only the data only the data is deleted, not even the space that is held by the data will be released. Next is data control language. So this data control language is a programming language used to control the access of data stored in the database. It is used for controlling privileges in the database, which means authorization. So the privileges are required for performing all database operations such as creating sequence, view of table, etc. So SQL commands which comes under DCL are grant and revoke. Grant means grant permission to one or more users to perform specific task in that particular database. Revoke means withdraw the access permission given by the grant statement. Okay, so revoke means the already given permission will be retrieved or rollback. Rollback means the action which is done previously by using the grant operation will be undone. Next is transaction control language. Transaction control language commands are used to manage transaction in the database. These are used to manage the changes made to the data in a table by DML statements. So DML statements, data manipulation language. This data manipulation language will use some commands to do some action to the table, but TCL means once the command has been executed, it will check whether the transaction is complete successfully or not. Okay, so the commands that are used in TCL are commit, save all transaction to the database permanently, rollback, restore the data to the last commit states. Okay, and save point, temporarily save transaction so that you can roll back it. Okay, so this is the three commands that are used to do. Even you can use these commands to take backup of the data. Next is DQL. So DQL data query language consists of command used to query or retrieve data from the database. One such SQL command is DQL, and select is the command that is used to retrieve data from the database. Okay, so it displays the records from the table. So with this we'll finish the class. We'll see the data types and other topics in the next class. Thank you, students.